Yeah, that's good. Oh, hey everybody, what's up? I'm just writing my new single. It's called Surfing on a Sea of Cringe. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go platinum with that one. Yeah, okay. Hey everybody, Tekking here. I'm gonna take these headphones off. They're kind of choking me. By the way, never buy these. Toxic headphones. They look awesome, they break after a week, but they look cool, so I mean, if that's all you care about, whatever. Today's video is gonna be about the roar of the sea, Scratchman Apoo. And I'm looking at the chart of Supernovas, guys, and we're winding down. We got through a lot of these. Now, granted, we already did discussion videos on Luffy and Zoro and Law and Blackbeard before this. I think I have like 3 separate discussion videos on Blackbeard alone. I want to do another one on Law, because Law is way more than just a supernova, you know? He's, kind of a main character in Dressrosa. It is a main character in Dressrosa, and we're going to be seeing way more of him in the series, so I want to do another video about him at some point. But as for the just the supernovas we have left, we got Apoo, who we're covering today, and then I'm going to do Hawkins. I got a whole book over there about tarot cards I gotta read up on. And then the last one I'm going to do is Beige. I feel like that is appropriate because Beige is still in the major, position right now in this arc in Whole Cake Island. We might still see some stuff from him, so I want to hold him off until the very end. Probably by the time we get to Beige, this arc will hopefully be wrapped up, and then all of the stuff from Beige from this arc we can account for in this video. But today's video is about Scratchman Apoo, the musical god, member of the Long Arm tribe, captain of the on-air pirates, who are on top of being pirates also a traveling DJ service. So if you ever find yourself in the New World and you're hosting an event, weddings, anniversaries, 21st birthday, whatever, dial up Apoo and his crew and he will cut you some sweet group rates with that. He's really good with working in your budget. But on top of that, he's also the wielder of a unknown music type devil fruit. We don't know the name of it. It's a paramecia, obviously, but we don't exactly know the name or the full scope of it. He's able to summon various musical instruments using his body, and then using the sound that's emitted from those said instruments can cause damage to his opponent. I also would believe that there's maybe some support aspect of it too. Like if you ever play D&D, like break out the Bard's song or whatever, and maybe raise the stats of all your crewmates or something. Maybe there's something with that devil fruit we'll get into. In the New World, he began an alliance with Hawkins and Kid. Kind of interesting there, because he almost got into a straight up brawl with Kid back on Sabaody, but it's interesting that they're putting their differences aside for the better of working together to take down Shanks, one of the Yonko. However, this meeting was sort of destined to fail immediately because Kaido kind of landed right in the middle of their negotiations. Kind of the worst possible place to be holding your negotiations. Kaido, it's sort of like a divine act of God at that point, like, alright, yeah, you're working for me now. And the last time we've heard anything about Apoo, he was working for Kaido. He was talking to him over Den Den Mushi, informing him of Jack's status, how Jack's, the communications with him have been wiped out after the incident on Zou, and he calls him Lord Kaido, so we can assume he's working for him. We also know that Kid is now in a jail cell. We have no idea what went down with Hawkins, but we can assume that after Kaido crashed down, maybe the 3 supernovas tried to fight him. Maybe they thought, oh, maybe if we pull all our energy together, all of our crews are here, maybe if we just go at him, we'll be able to have a shot at least getting away. And Kaido wrecks their shit in a way that's so grisly, we don't even know how it went down. But Kid got all bloodied, got thrown in a jail cell, and we can assume that Hawkins and Apoo, even though we don't know what happened with Hawkins, we can assume that they basically, relented and knew that there was no way they were going to defeat Kaido, knew there was no way they were going to possibly escape. Kid was just really stubborn, so now they're working for the big man himself. Although, if we know anything about how the supernovas act and how they're, how Beige was against Big Mom and her crew, or about how Law was against, the other supernovas, and how he wanted to get an ally with the Straw Hat crew and then fight against Kaido, we can assume that there might be a plan later on for them to try to overthrow Kaido. They're just biding their time right now, working under them. The same thing with X-Drake, who was in league with Kaido, at some point over the time skip, he got connected with their crew. There might be something else in the works in the shadows for right now. But so that's everything we know about Apoo right now. That's the last time we heard from him. What else do we know about Apoo? Well, we know he's member of the Long Arm tribe. Oh shit, I already said that. Well, we know he has a music devil fruit. Is that all we know about Apoo? Hold on. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, yeah, okay, this might be a rather short video. Okay, alright, I could handle this, I could do this, I could somehow turn this into a 30-minute video. Let's start with the basics. So let's go back to Sabaody, where we first get introduced to him. He was shown in a bar, you know, the same bar that Kid was in, and he was kind of shooting Kid a glare, and of course, Kid being Kid, you know, the bar explodes. Subsequently, they get knocked out into the street, and, you know, Apoo's basically more passive than Kid. Kid's just like, you starting a fight? And Apoo's basically just like, come on, man, can't you wait to the new world to start this shit, you know? I mean, I'll fight you and all, but, you know, that's how it is with Apoo. He's not a very direct, you know, like, you looking at me, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. So, you know, he's able to be a little passive there. His bounty is not honestly that bad. It was 198 mil when he was first introduced. And, you know, ranking the Supernovas, about 200 million. That's not bad. That's just south of Law's bounty of a 200 million even. Basil Hawkins was higher at 249, and then after that you get into like Luffy and Kid. But so he had like the 5th highest bounty if we're looking at this, and that's pretty impressive, all things considered. Very kind of middle of the road of the Supernovas, you know, like right in the middle, kind of average if you want to point him out. When he was first introduced, like his absolute first introduction, when he was facing off Kid and we see his bounty and everything, I'll be honest, I didn't really view him all that, you know, like, oh, okay, he's a long arm, that's kind of neat. Haven't seen a lot of those at this point in the story. He dresses kind of cool, but whatever. There's some more interesting ones, like Beige is a straight-up gangster. Bonnie's got the, you know, okay, but yeah, so Apoo was like average. But then when Kizaru rocks into the island and he starts throwing around light bullets and starts knocking down supernovas left and right, you have Apoo who's up on top of a building just kind of observing everything, and all of his crewmates are next to him, the on-air pirates. They're like, Captain, let's get the hell out of here, and he's like, come on, man, I can't, there's freaking admirals fighting again, there's a pacifista, Kuma's there, they're fighting against supernovas. This is a really cool freaking concert we got primo tickets to. I'm gonna sit my ass down and enjoy this, which, come on now, if you were at that live event too, I think you would probably, I mean, you would try to stay a safe distance away, but you couldn't just leave when that shit's going on. So I gotta give some credit to Apoo there. He's rather fearless in that situation. And even more so, when he saw that basically Kizaru had Hawkins dead to rights, he, you know, torched all of Hawkins' extra lives, and he had them on the ground, and he was basically just charging up a death laser to shoot Hawkins right between the eyes. That's when Apoo finally decides to reveal his power, and he doesn't do it in a way that's like, he jumps in front of Kizaru and is like, bring it on, Kizaru! No, he does it, his ability is very thankfully very well versed at long-ranged, you know, techniques, so he can affect a large area, so he probably figured, I'll be able to break out my power, show him what I'm made of, you know, drop my hit single, and then get the hell out of Dodge. Didn't really work out too well because, as it turns out, Kizaru has the power of light, and light can travel faster than sound. Don't know if you knew this, kind of dropping a bombshell on you there. But it was at least cool to see his abilities. So, we don't know the name of his devil fruit. I'm going to assume it's called the music fruit, the instrument fruit sounds stupid. Maybe the beat fruit, or the tone fruit, or something like that. It allows him to control music, and not just music in the sense of him just like singing, although he can do that as well. Any part of his body can turn into a musical instrument to send out a certain variety of sounds that cannot be created just with your voice. Very deep sounds, or like, look, I'm not a music guy. I didn't take any like band or chorus classes or anything like that in high school, but I at least understand the basics, right? Like a bass tone is something rather on the low end of the frequency spectrum, right? And a treble is something that's high frequency, right? At least I think I'm right on that. You know, so he can summon up certain, you know, instruments, like he can turn his arm into a saxophone or a trumpet. His teeth have markings of piano keys on them, so he can literally, like, just play his teeth. I thought that, I was kind of sold at that, because I'm like, okay, that's a clever idea, turning your teeth literally into piano keys that you can play. You know, you also see, like, in the anime, obviously, it's more apparent than in the manga, because in the anime, you can actually hear the music, but you could hear, like, some synthesization, like, keyboard shit going on in the background, you know, it's really neat. So he could probably send out any kind of music he wants, and it's probably not just limited connected to, like, the piano teeth. I mean, if he really wanted to, he could probably make his arm a piano if he really wanted to, like, switch it around and stuff. When he turns his arm into a saxophone, he literally puts, like, his fingers into his mouth, like they're the mouthpiece, and then his elbow, and remember, he's a member of the long arm tribe, so his elbow is, like, you know, longer than a human's, turns into the end of the horn, and he's just like, you know, can't really do it all too well, but that's how it works, you know, and all of the different, I have no idea what they're called, switches, pumps, finger drums appear, and then he can press those down, you know, and it's every aspect of an instrument that you'd think he can do. Alright, cool. So, he uses these musical beats to distract Kizaru from popping one in, you know, Hawkins' 10 spot, and distracts him long enough to, like, it's a really funny scene, because Kizaru just kind of doesn't have any idea what's going on, and Kizaru is kind of already high as hell, you know, 24/7 anyway, so, when he hears this, he's like, huh? Nanda, what's going on here? And, you know, so Apoo's up there breaking out all the stops, and he has two techniques that we know about so far. Scratch and Dawn. And his techniques are reminiscent of onomatopoeias. So you all know what an onomatopoeia is. An onomatopoeia is like a word to refer to an actual sound. Like when a dog barks, you know, the dog doesn't actually say bark, but that's the word we use to, you know, signify the sound coming out of the dog when he you know, makes that noise. So Apoo's techniques are actually very similar to that. Wherever he'll use scratch, that's kind of like a high-frequency sound, can't really hear. That's like the onomatopoeia he's making, and it's a slashing technique. So when he uses scratch, he, like, knocks his head, which is a cymbal on his lower jaw, so he'll, like, knock the top of his head, and then the cymbal will make the noise, and then it's a very silent, high-frequency noise that slices Kizaru's arm straight off. Now, of course, Kizaru being a Logia, you know, losing an arm means nothing. But imagine if he used this technique against anybody else. Like, can he just do this whenever? Like, just walking down a street and just be like, scratch! And then just everybody just, oh my god! You know, everyone just loses a limb? Because that seems like a pretty OP technique. Maybe he was directing the noise directly to Kizaru. I'm assuming that whatever he wants to affect with his music has to actually be able to absorb sound, you know, so whenever the sound actually hits it, he's able to affect it. But if it's something that bounces the sound back or something, maybe if he uses his techniques in, like, a cave where, like, there's a lot of echo, maybe he wouldn't be able to be as precise with his techniques. But I would assume, yeah, he starts up a sound and he can actually, he's like psychically aware of the sound waves sending out and what's being absorbed and what's being knocked back and everything like that, because certain structures respond differently to certain types of sound depending on the frequency. Some gets absorbed, some gets knocked back, depends on what you're hitting with the sound. So I'm assuming that's how it works, but human bodies, you know, I mean, you know, Kizaru's Logia, he's made of light, but not always, you know, his default is regular flesh and blood, and, you know, humans are made of water, so they absorb sound rather well. You know, so in that sense, you know, that's how he's able to slice his arm off, and then his next technique was Dawn, which was like a big drum blow. So he has his, you know, his chest, which is the drum, and he just takes his arms and it's just like, here we go! BAM! And then it just causes a giant explosion, and the onomatopoeia there is a loud boom, like a bomb going off or something, like kaboom! Basically, that's what the onomatopoeia is, and that causes Kizaru's, like, torso to explode, and Kizaru gets knocked into a bunch of different pieces. Of course, being a Logia, he reforms himself like that, and then that's when Apoo's like, alright, well, that was an awesome, you know, concert and all, but you probably haven't gotten knocked down from that because you're an admiral and all, so I'm just gonna be getting out of here, you know, peace. And then he just skips away, you know, while like while laughing in the distance, and, you know, Kizaru just gets right back up and is like, that was awful. He had no rhythm at all. And then Yatamir, and then it's ding ding ding, and like, what? BAM! And then just gets freaking floored by Kizaru. So, yeah, he survives, though. He survives. Maybe he has healing music. Did you ever think of that? You know? Breaks out like a flute or something, like Melody from Hunter x Hunter. Okay, that's another musical character, the only one I can think of off the top of my head. It can heal himself with music. That would be sweet. Or he could do the buff thing that I talked about with all the other, members of his pirate crew. If he has like support music that he could bust out, that's neat. But he just, he wasn't a chance for Kizaru. He had some very unique powers that distracted him, and Kizaru being Kizaru. Like if it was a Kainu would have turned around at seeing that and just like red dog and just torched freaking Apoo from afar. Aokiji and Kizaru probably would have given you the benefit to actually sit back and listen to their music. I'm assuming that's something that's very important to Apoo. He is a DJ, he's a musician. It's no fun if he starts breaking out all of his music and shit, and then they just attack him. They don't actually give him time to actually listen to his compositions. That would hurt him. So at least Kizaru gave him that, privilege. All right, I'll listen to you for a little bit. I'm kind of stoned right now, so this is kind of a neat little beat here. Yeah, that's cool. All right, back on the clock, So yeah, it's a pretty cool devil fruit ability. I'm sure we haven't seen even close to what it could do yet. There's so many other musical instruments, like I said, like guitar. Can he summon like electrical-based instruments? That would be neat. We can assume, of course, he got stronger over the time skip. His bounty is up to, actually, let me check on that. I don't know what his bounty is up to right now. It's 350 million. So that is a good bump. That's pretty damn high, going from 198 to 350. That's pretty high up there. Of course, Kids is higher and stuff, and of course, Luffy's higher. He's in 500, but 350, that's nothing to slouch at. That's higher than Beige's. So, that's pretty cool there. And so basically, that's all we know about him. When he went into the New World, there was a moment where he landed on a spring island. We don't know what it was called. It was inhabited by a bunch of giant boars, and Apoo kind of had to give everything he really had to take out one of them. At least I think in the anime, that was added in. I think in the manga, it was just shown them running away from them, and these wild boars, and they were running up a hill, and they were like, screw it, just jump in the water, and here's the end of the hill, and they just keep running off onto the air, and so that's the joke. The on-air pirates were literally running on air. So we have that was something that had to do with that island in particular, though nothing really with them, but it was funny. But we could, assume they survived their ordeal on that island and managed to make waves in the New World. Being a member of the Long Arm tribe, that of course means he's hailing from Kenzen Island. Now, not all Long Arms resemble the long arms on Kenzen Island. That's like their homeland. Kind of how, like, not all giants come from Elbaf, or not all giants are subscribing to the same level of, like, culture and, like, the war-mongering thing that the Elbaf giants do, like Jaguar D. Sol. Maybe his ancestors were from Elbaf, but they left and he was born somewhere else, and he had a very more passive nature. Now, long arms like Ideo do not dress in the very typical Chinese garb that the long arms do on Kenzen Island. That's kind of their native dress, very Chinese kind of aesthetic. But Apoo does. Apoo dresses in the garb that's very similar to the other long arms. His is a little bit more stylized. He has the kanji for sound written on his chest there. But his hair's in the top knot kind of ponytail thing. He has glasses, which is kind of different. He doesn't have the facial hair that a lot of other members have. But he's clearly in a similar aesthetic, so we can assume he came from there, and that's just how it grew up. We don't really know much about the Long Arm tribe. I really can't go into detail there. Like in terms of their culture and everything, beyond obviously Oda's going for a Chinese thing. Even the layout of the island looks like something from like Chinese mythology, like Journey to the West kind of deal. But other than that, we don't really know much about it. And yeah, that's the weird thing about Apoo. Combining Haki with his Devil Fruit, how would that go down? Because it's like sound waves. It's not really physical attacks. We haven't really seen Apoo like get into a straight up brawl with somebody. Although, I mean, he has a long reach, so that he has that going for him. But other than that, his techniques seem very at a distance, and we've seen Haki be added to projectile weapons before, like the Kuja's arrows and all that, and the Sea Stone bullets in the movie film Z. But how would it work with sound waves? Like Brook, he has kind of the same deal too, but Brook, the way he fights is different. He doesn't just use the sound waves. It's like he radiates his soul outwards, and when his soul comes in contact, maybe he's combining his soul with the sound, and so whenever the sound hits somebody, the soul's hitting them, and he can sway people's own soul that way. He can kind of manipulate them in that sense. Apoo doesn't have that. His is strictly sound. Now, when I say that, I mean like sound in the sense like if you get a high enough frequency, you can crack glass, or in the sense with his onomatopoeia, he can use techniques to cut people or have like large explosions. His is quite literally strictly sound, whereas Brooks is like very much more metaphorically like the music can sway your heart, man. That's the power of music. That's kind of how Brooks is. So a little bit of a distinction there. So I don't know if he could add Haki to his devil fruit. I don't know if that's something that would really be applicable there. In terms of an awakening, how would an awakening fruit like that work? Maybe he could radiate sound from different places. Like let's say, for instance, if he awakened his fruit, he can affect other things. So maybe he can turn stuff into speakers. So I'm going to turn that rock over there into a speaker. So I could be over here on this side of the battlefield playing a song, but it radiates from that side. So coming from both sides at the same time, or set up like a perimeter of like speakers out of just inanimate objects, because that's what an awakening does. It transforms the surrounding area into the qualities of your devil fruit. And granted, we've only seen this in very simple ways so far, like Doflamingo turning the ground into string, Katakuri turning the ground into mochi. But considering that Apoo's ability is music based, maybe he can turn certain inanimate objects into other musical instruments or speakers or stuff like that to be used in conjunction with his power. That's a cool idea there. Ah, man, I'm really trying to find more stuff to talk about him. What's up with Kaido? I've already kind of discussed that, but we can talk about it again. We know he's working for him, so he probably is going to appear at Wano. I would assume with Wano, that's where Kaido is setting up shop right now with the Shogun. So we're going to see there. Maybe there might be a moment where Law and Luffy are breaking into like Kaido's like compound or his area where he's staying, and they run into Kid who's in the jail cell and they free him. I don't know if Kid would really be all cool with that, with being saved by Luffy and all them and Law and them stuff, because he kind of doesn't really care for them very much. But you have Apoo there, who we know is definitely working for Kaido, 100%, so he might be an obstacle to the Straw Hats, if anything. Not sure how music really works with rubber, if the music would bounce off Luffy's rubber, or how that would go down. But he's probably going to be an obstacle for them, if anything else. Unless he realizes, wait a second, we have all these supernovas here. We got, Kid is freed. We got Luffy. We got Law. We got all these other Straw Hats. We got these samurai. The whole deal is they're trying to take over Wano back from the Shogun. So maybe Apoo at that point might be like, all right, guys, how about we do a team up? Like a big concert to take out Big Mom. Oh, and then Apoo and Brook could have a back and forth. That would be fun to see. That would be really cool to see Brook and Apoo getting along, singing a song together, maybe like a combination attack. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. They go up against one of the calamities or something, and Apoo and Brook have a combination. They both strum a guitar at the same time. Lets out this giant, affects the soul and the metaphysics and also the physical body as well, gets struck from both angles. That would be sweet. So make that happen now. That was just something that came up out of nowhere, but that would be pretty sweet because they're two musical-based characters there. From what we know about his past, nothing really much. All we got is the image that Oda drew of Apoo when he was a child. He seemed to be into music back then. He's rocking the pompadour. Does not have the key marks on his teeth, so we can assume he ate the fruit later in his life. This is what he looks like as Rule 63, female Apoo. Yeah, I like the hat. That's cool, I guess. But really, I don't want to draw it on for longer than it's necessary. I really feel like I've discussed everything about him so far, from when he started to where he's at right now. What do you guys think? Of course, I'm really interested in hearing your theories on his devil fruit, because it's something that is pretty different, compared to a lot of other things. I like really weird kind of devil fruits that give you strange abilities like that. So talk about that below. An awakening, Haki, how would that work? And how he is in a physical fight, because I feel like if someone managed to, could you just put on a pair of earmuffs? I guess not. That really wouldn't work, because the sound, if it gets absorbed into you, it affects you. Not if you've actually just physically heard it. It can affect you even if it just, the sound waves hit you. So that's all it takes. So I guess wearing headphones wouldn't work. But if you're fast enough, because there's plenty of people in One Piece that are even, faster than sound. So if you can move faster than sound and just strike Apoo, he probably isn't that physically strong, so it's probably not gonna, his sound is something that's very situational in terms of, how much distance is between him and the enemy. But yeah, that's all I got, so, signing out. I'll play it out with, my song, Surfing on a Sea of Cringe. Oh, Alexa, give me a beat. Surfing surfing on a sea of cringe.